Hi guys, so in this video we are going to be looking at the digestive system, which is part of the few systems that you have to know and learn in grade 9 during term 1. Okay, so first, what is the digestive system? It is the intake of food that is broken down into dissolved nutrients that can be absorbed into the bloodstream and transported to cells throughout the body. So basically, it's how it breaks down food and how those foods that contain nutrients are absorbed into the body. Then we have the main components of the digestive system, where we have the mouth, which is responsible for chewing, lubrication, digestion, as well as swallowing. Then we have the salivary glands, which secrete saliva. Then we have the esophagus, which is that long tube that is between the mouth and the stomach, and it has muscular action that squeezes food. Then we have the stomach, which is responsible for digestion. Then the liver, which releases bile to digest fat. It stores excess glucose and breaks down alcohol and toxins. Then we have the intestines, where we have two, with the first one being the small intestine, which is responsible for digestion. Then the large intestine, which is responsible for absorbing water and the formation and decomposition of feces. Then we have the anus, which is responsible for egestion, and it is the muscle at the end of the intestine. Cool. So now we're going to be looking at the 4 main processes of the digestive system that you need to know in grade 9. So the first being ingestion, which is the intake of food. You're putting food into your body. How? Through your mouth. Then we have digestion, where we're going to get to that later in detail, where it's the breakdown of large insoluble molecules into small soluble molecules that can be absorbed into the bloodstream. And it begins in the mouth and also occurs in the stomach and intestines. Then we have absorption. This is when the soluble molecules are transferred from the stomach and intestines through the walls into the blood vessels that surround them so that they can be transferred to the cells in the rest of the body. Then lastly, we have egestion, which is the undigested food that is removed from the body in the form of feces through the anus. So basically, to summarize the whole 4 processes, you basically intake food, you eat food, you chew it, it becomes smaller, it then travels down your esophagus, and then the nutrients absorbed by the body, and whatever food was not digested, it then exits the body. So that's basically a shorter version of the 4 processes, but you need to know them in detail. Okay, so now there's a little bit of revision for what you did in, I think, grade 6 natural science. I'm not really sure. We're basically going to be looking at your diet. Okay, so what is a balanced diet? It is composition of the correct amounts of different components, which are proteins, carbohydrates, fats and oils, vitamins and minerals, and fiber and water. So you're supposed to eat all of that. Okay, and a balanced diet provides food that can be used for energy, growth, repair, and replacing cells and protection against infections. So that's basically what a balanced diet does for your body. Then we have 2 disorders that you would need to know in grade 9, with the first being overnutrition. And this is when you are eating more than your body needs. Remember, with a balanced diet, you are getting the correct amounts of the different components. And this is when you are eating more than what your body requires. Okay? So the excess food is stored as fat, and you can become obese. Okay? Obese, overweight. The excessive fat in the tissue can block blood vessels and lead to complications such as high blood pressure. You won't get enough oxygen into your lungs, so it can lead to a lot of issues. I'm not sure if you're old enough to watch the show, but there's a show on TLC called My 600 Pound Life. That is basically an example of overnutrition, where you are eating more food than your body needs, but they also eat more junk food, where they're not really getting the balanced diet. They're mainly eating fats and oils and carbohydrates. Then we have undernutrition, which is basically the opposite of overnutrition. And this is when you are eating too little of a particular food group. And this can lead to a deficiency, disease, or disorder, such as constipation. Constipation occurs when you're not getting enough water, you're not getting enough fiber, Sometimes it can be chronic, but that is mainly the reason why people are constipated, is because they're not getting enough fiber and not drinking enough water. Then there's kwashiorkor, which you've learned in life skills or life orientation, where you're not getting enough protein. And then we have anemia, where you don't have enough iron in your body. Cool. So now we are by the alimentary canal and digestion. So what is the alimentary canal? It is a long tube that runs through the body from the mouth opening to the anus. Okay, so it's all the way from the mouth right up until the anus. So its role is to digest food into smaller soluble nutrients that can be absorbed by the bloodstream and take in cells for energy, growth, and repair of tissues that are damaged. Okay, so that's its role. And the processes that occur are ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. So that process, those 4 processes that we talked about earlier in the video, that all occurs here in the alimentary canal. Okay, so just a little bit of revision. The alimentary canal is composed of the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small and large intestine, the rectum, which is just above the anus. It's the part that holds the feces before it comes out through the anus. And then we have the anus. Then we have 2 types of digestion, which is mechanical and chemical. So the first one is mechanical digestion, and that refers to the physical breaking down and mashing of food into smaller particles. And this creates a larger surface area for enzyme action. So this occurs in the mouth, where food is broken into smaller particles by teeth and tongue. So obviously, let's say you're eating a burger, you're going to bite it, you're going to chew it, all that, that's what happens in the mouth. And then in the stomach, food is mashed by contraction and relaxation of muscle walls and mixed with gastric juices. So all the food that you ate travels down the esophagus and drops right into the stomach, and then there, the muscle walls of the stomach do its thing and it mixes with its gastric juices. Then we have chemical digestion, which is the mixing of food with the digestive enzymes and hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is the stomach acid that is in your stomach. It is very strong. I've seen a video where if you put it like on a wooden table, it will dissolve that wooden table. So it is very, very strong. And that hydrochloric acid breaks down the food on the molecular level. Like I said, it is very strong, so obviously it will break down that food very, very finely to small molecules. And this happens in the mouth with the digestive enzymes. Saliva contains enzymes to break down starch. Then the stomach has gastric juices, which contains hydrochloric acid and enzymes to break down the proteins. Then in the small intestine, bile dissolves fats. Pancreatic juice and intestinal juice contains enzymes to break down carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So basically, to sum it up, mechanical is basically where no enzymes, no gastric juice, intestinal juice, no hydrochloric acid, that is not involved. It is basically just breaking up the food into smaller particles manually by solid things like your mouth, your tongue. Then chemical digestion is where all the chemicals come into play with the hydrochloric acid, gastric juice, all of that comes into play. So that's the difference between the two digestion. So unfortunately, with the digestive system comes health issues, with the first one being ulcers, which are painful sores and damaged tissue in the lining of the stomach and or intestines. And they are caused by bacteria, but stress, smoking, and drugs can make them worse. And the symptoms of that are pain and bleeding. Okay. Then we have anorexia nervosa, which is an eating disorder and a psychological condition. It's caused by a psychological condition. Psychological condition means that it's basically to do with the mind, and it changes your behavior and your thinking. Okay, so it's the fear of gaining weight. And symptoms of that, you lose your appetite, you have excessive weight loss, and obsessive exercising. An example that I'm going to put up on the screen is basically when a person looks in the mirror, they see someone that's obese, yet in reality, they are very, very skinny. So I'm going to put a picture up of that. Then we have diarrhea, which are watery, feces and can be caused by bacterial infection, food poisoning, and polluted water, which I'm sure you've done in life skills or life orientation. And then we have symptoms of that, which are watery stools that last more than 3 times per day, and you also become dehydrated. Then we have liver cirrhosis, which is basically scarring of the liver, and it is caused by alcohol abuse, infection, and liver disease, and symptoms of that are yellow skin and tiredness. I hope this video will help you understand the digestive system much better. Bye!